Hey everybody, it's me, Edward Jones, back with a new video. Harriet on the 20. I heard about this a few days ago, and I decided I had to throw in, my 2 cents, so to speak, on the matter. First, I wanted to say that I'm pretty sure everyone's familiar with this. If you follow my channel for long enough, I take pride in this shotgun because I've worked on it since I bought it back in 2008 to make it to what it is right now. A pretty kick-ass riot gun. And what's cool is two videos on that gun on my channel are my most watched videos. So I'm pretty happy. I'm pretty proud of that. This is a shot shell bandolier I made back I think in 2011. It was all worn out, and I got new elastic for it. Made it to where it is right now. I even made a new clasp, I guess you would call it, by hand, because the old one was broken. And we had cheap pot. It was cheap cast pot metal. These shotgun shells, all the ones that are marked at the base of the shell are ones that I hand loaded, and I'm proud of those. Now, why did I showcase those items? Those are things that I take pride that I can say I take pride in because I worked on it. I worked to get them what they are. I wanted something, so I made it happen. I made it happen myself. It ties us in with this video. I did a video a while back called American Outlaw, and it was about Harriet Tubman. And how I respect her. I do. I think the mission that she accomplished in her day, it was phenomenal, and it was amazing. And it shows what someone who's determined to change a situation can accomplish. The other things she has accomplished. And so, I say that she was a great American outlaw. I mean, she broke a lot of laws, freeing slaves, essentially taking what was known as property at the time and liberating it. They tied it in with the discussion about her being on the $20 bill. First off, I actually want to say I'm surprised that, and I heard, I remember hearing on the radio today, on the Breakfast Club, where Dr. Ben Carson got, and I'm not really a supporter of his, but I will point this out. He was given Donkey of the Day on the Breakfast Club because he said that he didn't think it was appropriate to put Harriet Tubman on $20 bills, and maybe something like the $2 bill, which I will do. I do agree with that, and I'll explain further in the video. So maybe the $2 bill would be more acceptable. I remember looking on Facebook. Someone made a post about what the doctor said, saying that he basically compared or basically reduced Harriet Tubman to a $2 hoe. That's the kind of thinking, I guess, that people have of for someone who made a statement about who would be more appropriate to be on which dollar bill. First off, I want to start with this. I'm surprised there are blacks who aren't wanting to keep Andrew Jackson on a $20 bill. I mean, because after all, he did. I think correct me if I'm wrong, but he started their beloved Democratic Party. The Democratic Party started with him, and people want to complain about, he was a white racist slave owner. Well, the thing is, he only set forth a mission that the Democratic Party does nowadays, which is always finding ways to enslave people, especially black people. I mean, you just look throughout the Democratic Party's track record. Has done a whole lot to shred the black community. So I think it's kind of funny that they want to take the president of their beloved party off the $20 bill, just because he owned slaves. If that's the case, then we really wouldn't have much of a currency, because George Washington owned slaves, Thomas Jefferson owned slaves. Who by the way, I read about, he died with debt, and his daughter had to sell all his slaves, to make up for the debt. Correct me if I'm wrong. If you have any information on that subject, please send me a PM or post in the comment section. But who else? I guess you can get upset with Ulysses S. Grant, because he had Sherman on his side, who come up with that promise of 40 acres and a mule, which was there's no way that could have been kept. Plus, the devastation of the Civil War reduced everyone in the South at zero, because of the sheer destruction of the war and what it did to the South's economy. But I can get into that in a whole different video. The outrage. Andrew Jackson started the Democratic Party, and it's funny how blacks vote Democratic at such a high percentage that they want to take off. They want to take off their founding father of that party off currency, which I think is kind of funny. Second, Harriet Tubman, what she did was a testament to, like I said, what an individual can do when they have the determination and a goal to drive them in a certain direction. She broke federal law. She did break federal laws by taking slaves out of slave states and getting them getting them up north. It's the same as she violated state laws. I think it's interesting that you want to put her on a $20 bill, when the kind of stuff that she did, most likely she would get turned in by a lot of people. But she almost got turned in by people during her day. I think people nowadays, especially black people, probably would turn her in for what she was doing, if there was some incentive in it for themselves, because it's in such shambles that people who do certain people in that community who do good, who do things that are who do things that actually advance the community itself, get kicked down because they have a different opinion, because they talk down the poor black folk, and they don't fit the narrative that's being passed around, that blacks are poor slaves, they're lowly, or as today, there's racism, they can't get out of the situation they're in, which is a bunch of hogwash, because she did it, and she wasn't the only one who did it. Frederick Douglass was a slave. He escaped and made something of himself. What excuse do people have nowadays? So I think it's pretty interesting, to want to put her face on a $20 bill. Third, I want to, and that links to this. The reason why I agree that it may be more appropriate to put on a $2 bill is because, $2 bills are rarely used. Someone like Harriet Tubman is rarely seen. You rarely have someone who takes such measures out of their own conviction because they believe what was going on was wrong. She faced a lot of dangers in doing, in her mission of standing against slavery, of freeing slaves, sending them up north, and coming back to get more. I believe there's a quote by her that said that maybe one of the negatives of what she went through was trying to convince those who were slaves that they were slaves, and what their current situation was. Today, now it seems to be that anytime something goes wrong and a black person is involved, they want to jump on the is due to racism, is due to institutionalized racism, which is excuses, and to find someone who actually who actually goes against that narrative is rare. So yeah, I think it's appropriate to say that she, as best as she's on, it may be best that she be on the $2 bill if you put it on currency. And after that, I think it's, I think it's comical that you in this, and I probably could call the sexist for this, oh well. I think it's comical that you put a black woman on currency before you put a black man. If I had my druthers, I'd say Booker T. Washington is worthy of being put on currency, because for one, he pushed the point to the black community that they need to focus on not trying to be equal to everybody, but to have a skill, have thrift, create ownership of property, own something that you can so that you can compete with others. They may not like you, but if you have the skill and you have the capital to prove that you're beyond what they think you are, they'll learn to respect you. They'll see you as competition. I mean, who doesn't respect their competitors enough to where they say, this person is they had something going for them. They're working hard. They got a business going. Maybe I need to shape up my model and try to compete with them, or maybe I need to join in with them and see if there's an advantage that I can get a hold of. Because obviously this group is doing something good. Not this whole we need to have equal. No, because you try to push it too much, and that was the W.E.B. Du Bois way of thinking. You try to be equal across the board, there's going to be resentment. There's going to be, especially by people who actually have to work their ass off to get where they are, just to be at the same level as someone who didn't work as hard. And I've heard the if you're black in this country, you got to work twice as hard. Okay, then that means if that's how the game is played, you play it to your advantage. You play the hand that you're dealt, and you play it well, so that you can get ahead, and that other people will see that and they'll take notice. And that's what Booker T. Washington pushed forward. And going back to the matter of having a black man on currency, I think if you notice the trend of having men on currency, at least in the U.S., there's a reason for that, and I believe it comes out of seeing that masculinity is important. It meant something back then. It should still mean something today. So, and let's say if there's the case in white culture that that white men they have a certain amount of masculinity that must be put in the front to show what direction their culture is going in, then it only makes sense for black community, for black culture to do the same. I think it's a slap in the face that you would put, and like I said, I may get called sexist for this, but oh well. I think it's a slap in the face of black masculinity that you would put a black woman, and this is not to cast down all that Harriet Tubman had done, but to put a black woman on currency before a black man would be put on currency. But then again, it's no surprise if you look at the state of black masculinity nowadays, it's laughable. Who would really take it seriously? You either have a bunch of thugs who really don't amount to anything, or worse, you got a bunch of effeminate black men basically being a big embarrassment to those who who work hard, who have self-control, who know how to control their emotions, who know how to think logically, who know how to string together a rational argument, and come up with black men who come up with a plan and follow through with it and actually lead others. But then again, you'd be called a coon if you reduce it like that. Just look at Bill Cosby, for example. Despite what you say about the stuff that he got accused of, he worked his ass off to help others to do the same. But it doesn't fit the narrative. I don't think if Harriet Tubman gets put on the $20 bill, I don't think any pride should be. I've already thought about naming this video "Unwarranted Pride Part 2." But I don't think that it should be. I don't think any pride should be taken in it. And going back to what I was saying before, about the things I made, the things I actually built, there seems to be a reoccurring theme in the black community that we have to wait for someone to give us something. When you look at other cultures, they take it. They want something, they take it. Say what say what you want about so-called these racist white men. They wanted something, they took it. While for the most part, blacks have done that, but it seems like nowadays, anytime something goes wrong, who's going to do this for us? No, what are you going to do for yourself? That's what Booker T. Washington was talking about. Do for yourself first. Learn to take care of yourself, and that way other people will notice, and they'll see you as competition, and they'll want to compete with you. And they see it's you can't get mad at someone for being competing with you. All you can do is try to be neck and neck with them. But no, it seems like anytime something goes wrong, whether it be police brutality or poverty or disparity in education, or just the structure of the family, who's gonna do this for me? What are they gonna give me? It's like taking crumbs off the table, off the master's table. Which is funny because we're talking about Harriet Tubman, who worked really hard to keep that from being on the minds of black people today, or at least in her time. But please tell me what you think. Do you agree with me? You think it's more political correctness being pushed by putting Harriet Tubman on the $20 bill? Do you think it's appropriate? Do you think it's justified? Do you think I'm wrong? You think I'm a coon? You could be right about that. I'm wearing this hat. This is the Coon Files. So, take that as you may. Please like to read your comments or see a video response. Any gripes, complaints, send me a PM. I'll see what I do to address them. But that's my video. Harriet Tubman on the $20 bill. I'm Edward Jones, and thanks for watching.